Gandharva Apsaraha Nagaha Siddhaha Charana Guhyakaha Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha
Satsangena Hidaiteya
Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha
Satsangena Hidaiteya
Yatu Dhana Mriga Gandharvapsaraso Siddhascharana Guhyakaha Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Gandharvapsaraso
Satsangena Hidaiteya Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha Satsangena Hidaiteya Yatu Dhana Mriga Khagaha Gandharvapsaraso Naga Siddhascharana Guhyakaha
Satsangena, by association with my devotees. This is spoken by Krishna. Certainly. Daitayaha, the sons of Diti. Yatudhanaha, demons. Mrigaha, animals. Khagaha, Does anyone know what that means? Birds. Do you have that in your language at all? No. No, by reading Prabhupada's books. Comes in your language also. The usual term is pakshi. Also. Not an often used word. Kaga.
Traditionally they used to use in
Yeah, so kagaha, birds. Gandharva, Gandharvas. Apsarasaha, the society girls of heaven. That's Srila Prabhupada's. Society girl is Srila Prabhupada's. Well, it's an archaic English way of saying courtesan, which is not exactly a prostitute, but something like that. High-class prostitute, you could say. Nagaha, snakes. Siddha, residents of Siddhaloka. Charana, the Charanas. Guhyakaha, the Guhyakas. Vidyadharaha, the residents of Vidyadhara Loka, the residents of Vidyadhara Loka. Manusheshu, among the human beings. Vaishyaha, mercantile men. Shudraha, laborers. Striyaha, women. Yeah, obviously these are very general terms, because Vaishya doesn't necessarily mean the merchant community, but it's a general term. And Shudra doesn't necessarily mean laborer. Can be. Laborer, we generally think of someone who just does manual work, but of course it can mean a musician, an entertainer, an artisan, like it's someone who works with stone or goldsmith. Kamina Kayasta is an administrative position, and so on. Striyaha, women. Antyajaha, uncivilized men. Rajaha. Oh, I'm going on here. Actually, I should just read. After this verse, there are other verses which come. Vaishya Shudra Striontyajaha Rajastama Prakritayas Tasmin Yuge Yuge Bahavomat Padang Praptas Tvastrakayadhavadaya Rishabharava Balirbano Mayas Chata Vibhishana Sugrivo Hanuman Riksho Gajo Gridhro Vanikpatha Vyadha Kubja Vraje Gopyo Yagya Patnyas Tatapare. Okay, I'll just go into the translation, because many of these are names anyway. So in every yoga, many living entities entangled in the modes of passion and ignorance gain the association of my devotees. Thus, such living entities as the Daityas, Rakshasas, birds, beasts, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas, Charanas, Guhyakas, and Vidyadharas, as well as such lower class human beings as the Vaishyas, Shudras, women and others, were able to achieve my supreme abode. Vritrasura, Prahalad Maharaj, and others like them also achieved my abode by association with my devotees, as did personalities such as Vrishabharva, Bali Maharaj, Banasura, Maya, Vibhishana, Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, Gajendra, Jatayu, Tula, Dhara, Dharma, Vyat, Kubja, the gopis in Vrindavan, and the wives of the brahmanas who were performing sacrifice. Purport. The Lord has mentioned devotees such as the gopis in Vrindavan and also demons like Banasura to illustrate how he comes under the control of those who surrender to him. It is understood that devotees like the gopis and others mentioned here obtained pure love of Krishna, whereas the demons generally obtained only salvation. Many demons were purified by association with devotees and came to accept devotional service to the Lord as the most important among the various activities in their lives. But the exalted devotees like Prahlad and Bali Maharaj knew nothing except devotional service, which they accept as their very life. Still, the reformed demons are also mentioned so that readers of Srimad Bhagavatam will understand the enormous benefits one may achieve by associating with devotees of the Lord. The demon Vritrasura was the pious king Chitraketu in his previous life, during which he associated with Sri Narad Muni, Sri Angira Muni, and Lord Sankarshan. Sankarshan is here being given as an example of a devotee, because the point of these verses is that by association with devotees one achieves devotion. So he's also a devotee. Prahlad Maharaj, being the son of Hiranyakashipu, is considered a Daitya or demon, yet while still in the womb of his mother Kayadhu, he associated with Narada Muni by sound vibration. It's buttermilk churning, is it? Yeah. Probably better not to do it just here. The demon Vrishabhava was abandoned by his mother at birth, but he was raised by a Muni and became a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Bali Maharaj associated with his grandfather Prahlad and also with Lord Vamana Dev. Bali Maharaj's son Banasura was saved by association with his father and Lord Shiva. He also associated with Lord Krishna personally when the Lord cut off all but 2 of his 1,000 arms, which had been awarded as a benediction by Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva gave him the benediction of having 1,000 arms, and Lord Krishna gave him the benediction of cutting off 998 of them. The demon Maya, Dhanava, constructed an assembly house for the Pandavas and also associated with Lord Krishna himself, eventually achieving the shelter of the Lord. Vibhishana was a pious-natured demon, the brother of Ravana, and he associated with Hanuman and Ramachandra. Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, and Gajendra are examples of animals who achieved the mercy of the Lord. Jambavan, or Riksharaj, was a member of a race of monkeys. He personally associated with Lord Krishna, fighting with him over the Syamantaka jewel. The elephant Gajendra in his previous life had association with devotees, and at the end of his life as Gajendra, he was personally saved by the Lord. Jatayu, the bird who at the cost of his own life assisted Lord Ramachandra, associated with Sri Garuda and Maharaj Dasharath, as well as other devotees in Rama Leela. He also personally met with Sita and Lord Rama. According to Srila Bhakti Vikasa Swami, the association that the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas, Charnas, Guhyakas, and Vidyadharas had with the devotees is not very prominent and does not need to be mentioned. Varnikpata is a Vaishya, and his story is mentioned in the Mahabharata in connection with the pride of Jajali Muni. And that's the... Nope, carry on. The importance of association with devotees is illustrated in the story of Dharma Vyadha, the non-violent hunter, as described in the Varaha Purana. In his previous life, he somehow became a Brahma Rakshasa, or a Brahmana ghost, but was eventually saved. In a previous Kali Yuga, he had the association of a Vaishnava king named Vasu. It's well known if you go through Mahabharata and Puranas. This what is it? Upacharya Vasu. The lady Kubja associated directly with Lord Krishna, and in her previous birth she had associated with Sri Narad Muni. And in a previous birth she was also Mantara, same, hunchback. Mantara, yes. You all know who that is? Yes. In Ram Leela. essential figure in Ram Leela. There'd be no Ramayana if it wasn't for her. That's according to Garga Samhita. Many of the personalities in Krishna Leela describe their previous life and how they came to be in such a situation in this life. The gopis of Vrindavan rendered service to saintly persons in their previous births. Of course, they're different gopis, so well, some of them were saintly persons in their previous life. That's the rishis of Dandakaranya, Rishichari gopis. That's also mentioned in the Garga Samhita. All different classes of. There's the Yagya Sitas that Lord Ram was performing yagyas. It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam for thousands of years, but his wife wasn't there, so he made a deity of her for every yagya. And then they all became gopis, and they're all different gopis from different backgrounds. When Ram went to Mithila, the city of Janak Maharaj, then not only Sita was there as a young beautiful girl, there were so many others, and they also desired to join Lord Ram in his Leela, so they also became gopis like that. So there are many different gopis from different backgrounds. Means apart from those who were already Nitya Siddha, but there are many others also who joined. The Rasa Leela is always increasing. There are always more and more gopis. It's inconceivable. Having had ample association with devotees, they became gopis in Vrindavan in their next lives and associated with the eternally liberated gopis who had descended there. They also had association with Tulsi Devi or Vrinda Devi. The wives of the Brahmanas performing sacrifice had association with women sent by Lord Krishna to sell flower garlands and betel nuts and heard about the Lord from them. That's also described in Krishna book, how these Pulinda women in the area of Brajamandala, that means they're tribal. Nowadays we'd call them tribal in English. So they're also there, and they're also attracted to Krishna. It's presumed they were quite ugly. And they were supposed to be very lusty because they're very low class. So Krishna embraced the gopis, and some kumkum would fall on the ground from the gopis' breasts, and they would smear that on their breasts, and then their lust would go away. So they would go around, they would collect fruit and different things from the forest and go to the villages, and in this way, when they met the wives of normally wives of Brahmanas wouldn't have anything to do with such women, but if they come selling something door to door, and naturally women, when they speak, at least what little I've observed, they like to talk about love affairs and handsome men and all this kind of thing when women get together. And so they spoke about Krishna. They would talk about, naturally, having seen Krishna from a distance, or just even, they naturally their mind became absorbed in thought of him, and they would talk about him. They became infected with Krishna consciousness. And the wives of the Brahmanas who were living just at the edge of Ranjamandala, they heard about this, and then they also became infected with Krishna consciousness. So these verses, anyway. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shrishtham Manamapi Shaktiputra Matrasrupam Rupam Tasya Rajam Rupam Matrim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Ho Radha Madhava Samprapto Yasya Pratita Kripa Ashri Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita. Oops. Vedaham Etam Purusham Dhamma Dityavarnam Tamasah Purastam Yasmat Paramna Paravasti Jayati Jalevasa Deviki Jalava Yaduvara Parishat Swarador Asyan Adharmam Sthirachara Vijana Kasus Pritishrim Arha Pirang Natavarabapam Karneo Karnika Vajiyantim Jamalam Randran Adharasudaya Purayam Dopamindaya Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kirtihi Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidushovadaya Vasvadya Inadbhuta Madhurima Kidushovamadya Sokyam Chasyavadanu Bhavata Kidusham Beti Lova Tadbhavadya Samajane Shaktigarva Sindharo Harindo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So recently I went through the 11th and 12th cantos of Bhagavatam, rediscovering so much treasure which is there. Many of the verses of the 11th canto are traditionally much quoted among Gauriya Vaishnavas, but Srila Prabhupada himself didn't quote them so much, and he didn't translate them, so in ISKCON they tend to be not so well known. There are many important verses there. These verses are, when we say important, of course, all the verses are important, but so when we say important, we mean those that are often quoted. The verses which I just read are not that much often quoted. They will be in the Sandarbhas, but then so many verses are in the Sandarbhas. But I just chose them. I chose these verses. I chose a few verses here from on the topic of association with Krishna's devotees, the value of that. So these are very inspiring verses. How and very sweet how Krishna extends his mercy to people, and even less than people. Of course, there are some who are considered more than people. If we talk about humans as earthlings, then the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Siddhas, they're on a higher level, but not very high. They're not real full-scaled demigods. They're sometimes they're called upadevatas. They're not really the topmost. But they're considered higher than the humans. Snakes, vulture. Vulture is considered inauspicious. If a vulture comes and lands on the building, that's considered very inauspicious, because their business is to find some dead body and eat that. So it's not a high birth. But even the vulture became famous. The name of Jatayu is still famous as a great devotee of Lord Rama. So all these personalities attained the mercy of Krishna. Asura Shakal, Pailo Charam, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, all the demons, they attain to your lotus feet. Well, not all of them, but many. They attain the mercy of Krishna. So that's very inspiring for us. Of course, in the present age, everyone who is a devotee of Krishna is from a fallen background, because everyone in Kali Yuga is fallen. Of course, everyone in the material world is fallen, but in Kali Yuga, everyone is fallen. We have divisions of high class and low class, but if any of us were transported back in time, say 200 or 300 years in India, every one of us would be considered completely low class. Speaking English, that in itself would be considered extremely low class. Nowadays it's considered high class. Why don't I speak the language of these lectures? Things I use, wearing sewn cloths, very low class. Wearing shoes, well, for kshatriyas it's all right, but for Brahmins, and all these things, even this processed sugar, even non-indigenous vegetables and fruit, to eat that. Red foods such as red papaya, watermelon, just even any of these things, if you did, then you'd be considered immediately very low class. And what to speak of getting what is considered now very high class, to be educated in all this materialistic Western education, that would be considered a total disqualification from any civilized society. I just read yesterday one of our devotees, one of Prabhupada's disciples, in the 1970s. She's from America, so she went with her sons to Radha Kund, and it's very hot, and one of her sons begged some water from the house of some Babajini or Vairagini or whatever you want to. There's no such thing as Babajini, just Tyagini. And so she gave the glass of water. He touched to the lip, and one Vairagi stand there and say, this lecture touched your cup. You gave water, so I'll never see you again. They were so strict about caste and all this kind of thing. That was in the 1970s. It was just considered automatically, by being a Westerner, one is totally fallen. Because to take birth outside of India is itself fallen. So then if you cross the ocean, you become fallen by going to such impious places. Of course, India itself, what was previously considered Srila Prabhupada said the whole world was Bharat, but even up until a recent time, what is now Pakistan, that was the pious place. The Sindhu River is there, and the ancient civilization Takshashila, that was there, and Bhakti Saraswati went there for preaching. It was just part of India, and then all of a sudden it's become inimical to India. And if we read that book, Breaking India, by Rajiv Malhotra and Aravinda Neelakantan, you will see that they want to turn the whole of India into Pakistan or something. And look what they're doing in Syria and Iraq. It's all American foreign policy. So anyway, we didn't come here to discuss that, but these are issues we should also be aware of, because India is the land of Krishna. In this world is where he comes to. So we're going to keep it like that and not make it into one big Pakistan. So anyway, the point I'm making is that in this age, we're also, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to say the fallen, and everyone is fallen in Kali Yuga. So maybe we don't appreciate so much the import of these teachings, that even the most fallen people, not just one or two, but many are delivered to Krishna consciousness. Krishna is so merciful that by the association of his devotees, even persons who are totally unqualified, they can achieve the highest perfection. But it is something exceptional, because it's expected that the high class people, they will take to Krishna consciousness. And that's also indicated in the very section of Bhagavad Gita where Krishna himself says that the low class people can come to me, which imam hi partha vyapashacha yepi syu papayo nayaha striyo vaishas tatha shudras tepi yanti parangatim. These verses are very controversial nowadays, especially the word striya in there. But Krishna says those who take shelter in me, even if they're from a very sinful background, and he gives the examples of Striya, Vaishya, Tata, Shudra, they can achieve the highest destination. So Shudra, we can understand that's very low. Women, previously was understood that this is a lower birth. Nowadays it's, as I say, very controversial. But why Vaishya? And once Srila Prabhupada was asked about this, and he said because they're just interested in money. They're materialistic. So Krishna says they can come to me. But then in the next verse, King Puna Brahmana Punya Bhakta Raja Shreyas Tata Anityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. Says Krishna says, then what to speak of those, the Brahmanas, the pious Brahmanas, the kings, devotional kings, that means not Duryodhana and Karna, not those, but the kings like the pious kings, devotees, then certainly they should reach me. So in other words, Krishna is saying everyone can come to me. To be of a sinful background is not a disqualification, but still it's expected that those of higher birth, they're more likely to come. So in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, which is where these verses are from, there's a lot of discussion about the modes of nature, how the mode of goodness is conducive for self-realization, for Krishna consciousness. But then Krishna throws in this thing and says, well, anyway, if you associate with devotees, then you can, all this mode of goodness, and he doesn't say you have to forget the mode of goodness, but he says that you can immediately Manchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatitaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. That again comes. This verse again comes after discussion of the three modes of material nature, the superiority of the mode of goodness, but somehow or other, if we can come to the level of unalloyed, undeviating devotional service, then automatically we cross over the three modes. Even persons in the Rajagun, even in Tamagun means the animals are generally considered to be largely in Tamagun, because they have no sense of discrimination, right and wrong, no higher intelligence, simply concerned with eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Aharidra bhayamaitanam samanimetat pashubhe naranam. So, and also the vicious demons who are simply interested in giving pain to others, they're considered to be in the Tamaguna. And humans in general, they're considered to be in Rajaguna. There may be a small population of Brahmanas may be in Sattvaguna. But those, anyway, whatever situation one is in, if one gets the association with of devotees, they can come to the highest platform, full devotion. So in devotional service, there's no, we don't emphasize this caste, who's of a high caste, this, that. Although up until a recent time, it was very prominent in Indian society, and unfortunately based on birth, but it was there was this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra division within human society based only on birth. But that is part of Vedic culture, and Krishna himself upholds that. For instance, when the Brahmana Sudama comes to his residence, although Krishna is an opulent prince, he gives respect to the impoverished Sudama, and to Narada when Narada comes, because Narada is a Brahmana, and so there is very much consideration of hierarchy and stratification. According to in Manu Samhita, there are various categories of various conditions which are given. The Brahmanas, they give most importance to knowledge. They respect someone who's got more knowledge. The Kshatriyas to those who have more power. The Vaishyas to those who have more wealth. And among the Shudras, the only consideration is age. Someone who's older is considered among their own class. So there are various criteria, that's the word I was looking for. Various criteria, and the Brahmanas, among devotees, purity. But there's also consideration of position, and Srila Prabhupada upheld that. He wanted that because it's necessary for human society or even devotional society, and it also facilitates an exchange of relationships. If everyone's all the same, it's supposed to be on the same level, then no one has any regard for anyone. But we see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recognized by everyone, and those devotees who are very close to him are also respected. Even Rupa Goswami, when he comes into the assembly of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees at Puri, Rupa Goswami bows down to them all, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells them, you all give him blessings. So there is stratification, but ultimately how much one is attached to Krishna, that is the important criteria. And those who are attached to Krishna, just by their association, others can be benefited. So in one purport, Srila Prabhupada, he said, I request all the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to become pure devotees so that people of the world may be benefited by them. So exalted persons, they travel in this world. Mahad vichalanam nrinam grihinam dina chetasam. Well, that was spectacular sound. This half verse which I just spoke was spoken by Nanda Maharaj when Garga Rishi came to his home, and Nanda Maharaj said to him that great persons like Garga, they move around on the surface, they move around on the earth for the sake of uplifting persons like myself who are grihastas of low consciousness. So in this way, devotees, they're supposed to move around in the world and uplift others. One may think, well, I'm not a devotee, but you may think, well, I can't purify anyone. A devotee shouldn't think, yeah, I think I'll go and purify everyone. This first, when the BJP came, they had their first large number of MPs in the parliament. That would be under Bajpayee. So there were some Swamis there and this and that, and some of the press reporters asked, what are you Swamis doing sitting in the parliament? That's not what Swamis doing. They said, well, we're going there to purify it. So they had the feeling, we're going to purify everything. Patita Pavana Hetu, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to purify. But so Vaishnava doesn't think, yes, I think I'll go there and then I'll purify the place. But he thinks that by the mercy of my spiritual master, I have received the gift of Krishna consciousness, which is purifying. So because I'm connected with my spiritual master, who's a pure devotee, and because he's given me the instruction to chant Hare Krishna, so even though I do so with all my contaminated consciousness, but still, by the mercy of my Guru, others may become purified by that. And it's not that they just go there and be there. Here I am, and radiate purification. But they chant Hare Krishna. They go in the streets and chant Hare Krishna, and they hold meetings to discuss topics of Krishna so that others may come and in this way be benefited. It's not just that by their presence others are benefited because they talk about Krishna and they try to bring others to Krishna consciousness. So, in the verse just after this, Krishna says, that after these 4 verses which I just read about how people, non-people, birds and elephants, all kinds of living beings achieve perfection by association with devotees. So Krishna, after this, I just read verses 3 to 6 of chapter 12 of the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. So in verse 7, Krishna says, the persons I have mentioned did not undergo serious studies of the Vedic literature, nor did they worship great saintly persons. Means not as they didn't have a regular, they weren't regular disciples. Kubja, she wasn't a disciple. Jatayu wasn't undergoing, he wasn't sitting in an ashram, no such thing. Nor did they execute severe vows of austerity. They didn't do anything special or particularly pious, but they got, and as Krishna says, simply by association with me and my devotees they achieved me. So commenting on this, Srila Jiva Goswami says that no method of spiritual advancement is better than association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada, he made this international society for Krishna consciousness. He wanted to make devotees so that people of the world could be benefited by their association. And the temple is to be built here. People will come to see the temple, the architectural attraction. Those who are pious, not just for the architecture, they'll come to see the deities, and those who are most intelligent will come to see the devotees. But most people are not intelligent, so therefore a temple is built so that many people will come, and people will come, they should get the association of devotees. Nowadays more and more things are being done by technology, by robots. Already you can have for a long time there have been this instrument is invented. I don't think you see it much in South India, but in North India it's quite common. But at the time of arati, you press a button and then you have your music, your drum being beat, and then the cymbals, and it goes on throughout the arati. So, and also it's very common in our temples There's arati, there's one pujari offering, and there's a whole kirtan with hundreds of people going on by the recorder. That's all. There's only the pujari and the deities, but it sounds like a big kirtan, but there's no one there. At least there might be some demigods there, but you can't see them. So it is possible. You can do everything by machine. There are automated chapati making machines. So you can, in our Food for Life or whatever they're called, midday meals or what, they have chapati making machines and khichdi making machines. So all you have to do is pour the rice and dal in. You don't even have to do it's computer controlled, everything. So you can do that, but where's the bhakti? I'm not saying there's no bhakti, but they're to personally cook and then just put the exact amount of spices and do everything very nicely for Krishna. There's this modern age, as I've several times said, is taking away the opportunity for service. Nowadays, instead of fanning the deities all day, which would previously be done in the hot season, you just press a button. No, nowadays not even press a button. It's some remote control thing, and then that's it. That's the fanning done. So the fanning is done by machine. The kirtan is done by machine. The lighting is done by. You switch like this. Still in some temples, as in Guruvayur in Kerala, if they have 1,000 deepams, then personally people have to go and light each lamp, and they have to clean it. Cleaning the deepams, that's a big job. But with electric light bulb, you just stick it in, when it goes out, throw it away, get a new one. So bhakti is practical activity, and the devotees, they manifest that in the world, and they attract others to engage in devotional service, activities of devotional service. So temple also means opportunities for people to come and perform service. There's so much service to be done in physical service, cleaning. I think it was the first time I went to Nathdwara. I was quite impressed how first arati in the morning. It's not very early. They're Mangala, as they call it. We call it Mangalarti, they call it Mangala. So it's a little late, because the idea is that anyway Krishna's a young boy, so let him sleep a little. Don't get him up so early. Don't give him all these austerities. So it's a little late, and so many people are there, and then when it's over, then then you're thrown out. Everyone has to go out of the temple. Thrown out means it's done very nicely. These pandas, mukhiyaji, they beat everyone with a gamcha and drive them out. You've seen it. Huh? Yeah. When they're coming in the daytime, they're coming for darshan, and people at the front, they'll be cholo, cholo, and they're beating them with a gamcha, so it doesn't hurt. It's giving them the message, come on, you move on, there are others coming. So anyway, the first time I came out, and immediately the curtain is closed, and baby Krishna, just got up. So now he has to be fed and all these things. A lot of feeding. In this Vallabh Sampradaya, they feed Krishna a lot throughout the day. Good appetite, especially milk products and heavy food. He's a young boy. He can take it on. He's working, going out taking the cows out. A lot of work. So, young boy should eat a lot. Generally, mothers like to feed their sons a lot. So, I saw that immediately it's finished, and then you see these men. They're obviously rich men. They have this very thin khadi cloth, nicely starched, which you can. That means high class with the gold. What do you call that? Button? Not buttons exactly. Cufflinks. Yeah, cufflinks. They, instead of using buttons, they use these, and they have a little string of gold. I don't know what they're called. I only saw it in India, actually. I don't even know what. It must have some name, but I don't. Do you know what that is? The Hindi name for that? They have, instead of having buttons, there's little gold buttons with a gold chain. So obviously they're very rich people, but they got the brush and they're doing Jharu Seva because this is serving Krishna. So the temple gives the opportunity to serve Krishna, and particularly because they are rich people, I would guess they take special pleasure in that, because they can't, by their social position, they're not allowed to serve anyone, even if they wanted to. Then it's just in the caste system or Vedic society, you're not allowed to do menial service. That is the dharma of a Shudra. You're not allowed to do it. But they like to do it for Krishna. Everyone can do it for Krishna. Ambarish Maharaj personally cleaned the temple, even though he's the king. The mayor of Puri, the king of Puri, not the mayor. The king of Puri personally cleans Jagannath's cart. And when Prataparudra Maharaj did that, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased. He said, oh, he's doing Tucha Seva. Tucha means insignificant, but for Krishna, it's very significant. And Maharaj Prataparudra would have thought that he's ruling the whole kingdom, but for him, more important is to sweep in front of Jagannath. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased with that. Why? Because it's a mode of devotion, showing oneself to be very small. So association with devotees is very powerful. These verses, Jiva Goswami comments that one may serve the devotees of the Lord through ceremonial worship. That means doing, just like when Garga Muni comes to Nanda Maharaj, or when Sudama comes to Krishna, then welcome him, sitting down, wash his feet, dry his feet, offer him something to drink. Actually, in Vedic culture, you can give water, but better to give this some argya, nice scented water with so very nice ceremonial worship, or just by associating with them, just by being with devotees, one becomes purified. Association with pure devotees is sufficient for self-realization, because one can learn everything about spiritual advancement from such devotees. By such devotees, they'll teach you verbally, and just by being with them, one can know what it means to be a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada, again, Harishari Prabhu gave that is a living Bhagavatam. He lives. There are two kinds of Bhagavatams. Ek Bhagavata Bhava Bhagavata Shastra, or Bhagavat Bhakta Bhakti Rasa Patra. There are two Bhagavatas. Bhagavata means that is which is in association with Bhagavan. And actually you can say that there's also Bhagavat Katha, Bhagavat Kirtan. There may be, it could be used as an adjective for so many things, but principally Bhagavat means the book Bhagavat. So that's important. Ek Bhagavata Bhava, the big one is the book, because that gives the standard, that defines who is Bhagavan, who is a devotee, what is bhakti. And one more is the devotee, who's called a Bhagavat. Devotees are, up to the present day, devotees are called Bhagavats, or in North India, Bhagat, they made it shorter. So Bhagavat. So the devotees, they personified the teachings of the Bhagavatam. Here there's a list of so many great devotees. So many devotees have been given some names, some personal names have been given. and some classes of devotees have been given. Some names: Gajendra, Hanuman, Vrishabharva, Dharmavyad, Tuladha, and then there are others: Guhyakas, Charanas, Apsaras. But in a pure devotee, you see in Srila Prabhupada, all is, yes, Yasti Bhakti Bhagavatya Kinchana Sarvari Gunais Tatra Samasate Suraha. All the qualities of all the great devotees are personally present. So by association with him, many persons who were just like that, at Radha Kund, I gave that example, persons who actually, this idea that you shouldn't associate with them, that is correct. You shouldn't associate with such people. You become contaminated if you associate with these. But because they're devotees, if it's just an ordinary American, then no, don't associate. That will spoil you. But if they're devotee, even they're from such a background, they can purify the whole world. So this is a very important teaching also, because to consider a Vaishnava, he's very low class. Vaishnava jati buddhi. That's naraki buddhi. One who considers a devotee in terms of their background, their bodily and social, cultural background, such a person is an offender. Srila Prabhupada, when he first brought his Western disciples to India, many people welcomed them, and many people were very skeptical about them, because culturally they were still acting and in many ways thinking, it seems, like Americans. It is very low class. This is even, this must have been, 20 years ago. Whenever it's in the past, I say 20 years, about 20 years ago. One of my godbrothers from America, he was at ISKCON Baroda, and then some cow from outside had come in. So he took off his shoe and from behind beat the cow to go outside. So you just don't know. And then there was another sannyasi from Canada had come with a group of devotees at Baroda, ISKCON. There are these benches outside. So one of the women in his party was sitting on the bench, and he just sat down and started talking to her. Sat down next to her and started talking to her. He didn't think that, well, I'm a sannyasi and I shouldn't sit next to him, especially in public, especially in the temple in public. But he never saw such thing. And this was after 20 years of Prabhupada, since Prabhupada came to teach, and still they hadn't picked it. And they still didn't pick up anything more since then. Hare Krishna. And in fact, our Indian devotees, they think, it's Western, it must be right, and they're losing all their culture. In fact, we often see that people from, they come to ISKCON from a cultured background, and then they look in India. Cultured background means in India. And then they lose it by coming to ISKCON, because we're modern. Anyway, that's another subject. So, Srila Prabhupada, some people pointed out, Prabhupada said that in Vrindavan, if our devotees drink by touching the lips to the cup, just for that, everyone will reject them. They're uncivilized. Just for that. What to speak of really gross behavior. So many things. I just read yesterday, one of our sannyasis went to the house of a very big rich man. He's a sannyasi actually from New Zealand, Prabhupada disciple. And the rich man was doing his puja, so the sannyasi said, "You'll go to hell for keeping a sannyasi waiting." And the man was really upset, and he had some big dogs, he said, and chased all the devotees away. So, they uncultured in terms of proper culture. And we find many Mayavadis who are actually very, very cultured in their behavior. Even today, their general behavior, they know how to behave as a sadhu. I'm not talking about the famous ones, the bogus ones have become, but there are, up to the present, Vaishnavas, non-Vaishnavas, they know the culture. Oh, that just, when I said Vaishnava, that brought to mind one of my godbrothers. He visited one of these Madhva sannyasis, a young man, he was in his 20s at the time. So they have these padukas, wooden shoes. So he had this sannyasi, Madhva sannyasi, had the shoes outside the room, and our devotees were going inside. So this godbrother of mine from America saw the shoes, stepped into them and said, "Hey Swami, these are really good shoes." And another devotee who was with me told me this. And the Swami says very coolly, "Oh, so now they are yours." so very cultured. He didn't get upset or anything. So it's a fact that our devotees were very rough, but Prabhupada defended them. He said, no, they are sadhus. They're first-class sadhus because they're chanting the holy names and they're dedicated to Krishna. So all this rough edges, we may say, lack of culture, that's not the criterion. There is one verse which comes, I believe, in Chaitanya Mangal, that King Ugrasena, King Puri, what manliness did Ugrasena have? He was just arrested by his own son and put in prison. He wasn't a very powerful kshatriya. And so it goes on a whole list on what culture did these Hanuman have, or the monkeys have, and what purity did Kubja have. In other words, they lack but because they're devotees, they're glorious. So that's the point. By associating with devotees, one becomes purified. Doesn't mean we shouldn't have culture, because the devotees should have sarvai tatra samasate sura. They should have all the qualities of the demigods. They're cultured people. But the point is that even if one is low class, uncultured, if one associates with devotees, he can achieve pure devotional service to Krishna. So how glorious is Krishna that simply by associating with his devotees one becomes purified. And that's actually the point of this verse. That's another famous verse. Kirata hunanga pulinda pulkasha abhira shumbha yavana kasadaya yine papa yadapashraya shvaya chudyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. So this verse describes the glories of Krishna. And it says that even all the low-class people, list of low-class people, the Chinese, the Greeks and Andhras, sorry, very Andhra people here. It's mentioned there in the You're from Gujarat, but Chaitanya Charitamrita also says Paschime Lok Shabmura Anacha. For the people on the western side, they're all Mudha, Anacha. So that was referring to the western side of India. So don't laugh at the Andhra people. So anyway, all these low-class people, they can be purified by association with the devotees of Krishna. Just see how powerful Krishna is. That even not by his own personal presence, by his devotees, people become purified. So Hare Krishna. Go and deliver the world. We have to show, we should demonstrate this. We should also not be interested only in here in India there are many pious Hindus, mostly what we say more high class. We should go among the low class people also. It's no great glory if the so-called high class people take to Krishna consciousness, but if we can go among the Muslims, the Christians, the tribals, the atheists here in India and all over the world, that would be the great glory. At the present time in the Western world, our movement, if it's doing well anywhere, it's mostly doing well because of pious Indians in America and England and Russians. Somehow many Russians take to devotional service, so there are many pockets of Russian devotees in Israel and America. So, all right, it's a good thing they're carrying the ISKCON flag, but what about the others? The real glory will come. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he went among people not at all pious, totally non-candidates for Krishna consciousness, and he made them, according to his own description, he lifted them to the standard of pure devotional service. So that's our challenge. It's not such a great credit to, I'm not saying it's bad or wrong or that it's just something very easy, but it's not such a great credit to that our movement is widely spread among the more sophisticated class, but for everyone, and that's Varnashram also, engaging everyone. Hare Krishna. Any question, please?
Guruji, our modern ISKCON sometimes Indian leaders, they are criticized foreign devotees, they are not.
Sometimes in India, our devotees, the leaders, they criticize that the Westerners are not properly behaved.
Yeah, they are not encouraging to take shelter of certain devotee like this. Not taking it
and they're not encouraging to take shelter. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, in general, is Acharya means to one who Achinoti Yashastrani Acharya Stapyatyapi Swayam Acharate Yasmad Acharyas Tena Kirtitaha. Acharya means one who knows the scriptures, lives according to them, and teaches according to them. So scripture, cultured behavior means according to Shastra. So that's normal human behavior. They're saying that uncultured people can take to Krishna consciousness by association of devotees doesn't mean that we don't have to cultivate cultured behavior. Cultured behavior means according to Shastra. That is favorable for devotion, and then in all the Bhakti Shastras say we should. They give so many directions. You keep Tulsi or a saintly person on your right side. You don't walk with them on your left side. So many details like that. So this is favorable for devotion. So in general, we should approach an acharya who can teach us all these things. So generally, it should be like that. Yeah.
Nowadays, as he said, we need to fight Indian community. We are trying to performance. They indicate Shruti or Gopra. But on the other hand, in India, we feel that still the higher caste people. In India, we are making only devotees from middle class.
From?
Middle category.
Yeah, in India, our movement's known as an urban middle class movement. We're not doing anything for the tribals, the village people.
Even higher caste.
And the very high class people they have no interest. Yeah.
One does feel that We can't just divert our attention.
But what is very high class in India? It means who's got money. Vitameva kaloninam guna achara guna. It means like Amitabh Bachchan or someone like that. He lives close to our ISKCON temple in Bombay, Juhu, never comes. He's just round the corner, less than a kilometer away, never comes to the temple.
I'm not speaking about them.
What do you mean by the very high class people in India?
They don't want to come.
Oh, you mean that?
We are not.
Well, people are in caste consciousness. They won't want to come because we have tribals as pujaris, and for them they don't like that.
But one reason I say that I feel that
We distribute prasad to everyone.
culturally we cannot still pick up some parts.
Culturally, yes. Our movement, as I said, many people in India, we see they come from at home, what culture they've learned, they lose it when they come to ISKCON. So in India I'm talking about. So that's not very good. One good thing is I see there are many devotees in our movement in India who are actually interested in the old culture. And generally not only ISKCON, but if anyone joins any Hindu movement, they're usually interested in all these things, whether it's, even if this Siddhanta is completely bogus, generally then they become interested and they want to. It's the old. They're interested in the old culture. Hinduism means the old culture, generally speaking, and so there are those who are interested in maintaining these things. But without Krishna consciousness, it's all useless, of course. But still, things like, just like when I first went to Belgaum and I saw the Rath Yatra there, this Risamrit Maharaj, Devamrit Prabhu at the time, he had a whole team of devotees doing Rangoli throughout the Rath Yatra. I thought that's very nice. And now it's spread all over, it's become all over. Even in the West, I see some Indians. Whereas Rangoli in ISKCON, it wasn't there before. But, so that's something starting from Belgaum. Oh, Pune also takes the credit, but I think it actually started from Belgaum. Started from Pune? Okay, alright, I'm corrected. So it started from there, and then many people said, oh, this is a very nice way to serve the Lord. And then others took it up, so that's something good, isn't it? Something traditional for the Lord. And I'm also promoting we should have temples without electricity. That gives the opportunity to light the lamp, and it makes a completely different atmosphere to light all the lamps, to personally fan the Lord. You'll see in many temples in North India, they from outside, not the pujari, inside the garbhagriha, from outside you pull the rope and then the fan is fanning the Lord like this. So it gives opportunity for service. And there's a certain sweetness about that, just putting on a light. There's no sweetness, and there's no sense of, yes, I'm doing this for the pleasure of the Lord. If you have to light 1,000 lamps, you do it as a pleasure. If you have to do it just, it takes so much time, I could be watching TV. But you say, oh, it's a very nice service to do this. And in Guru Vaya there'll be one caste of people, that's what they do. They light the lamps and clean the lamps, and that's all they do. That's their service, generation after generation. So these are very nice things. Hare Krishna. Okay, please speak when you understand.
I think during Deepadhan is very nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
Very sanctuary atmosphere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, in all temples and in almost.
Yeah.
Guru, here Khagas and Vikas all are getting benefit by association of pure devotees. So what about his deviating and sentimental devotees? They also get benefit.
Do people get benefit even from those who are devotees but they're deviated or just sentimental? Well, according to the level of the devotee, the benefit will be there. But we see our own Krishna conscious movement that Srila Prabhupada's potency has worked even through very neophyte devotees. He would send devotees, you go to Japan, you go to Fiji, and they themselves may not be very strong even in following the regulated principles, because they had faith in Prabhupada and went on his order, people became devotees. In Russia, Srila Prabhupada met one boy, preached to him for 1 or 2 days, initiated him, and he spread Krishna consciousness all over Russia. He was making devotees by 2 methods. One was by preaching, another was by impregnating different women. And I hope their children became devotees. So, but he spread Krishna consciousness also. Prabhupada's potency was there. And George Harrison, Prabhupada encouraged him to promote. Prabhupada gave a lot of importance to George Harrison. He mentioned him in his book, Upadesh Amrita, not directly, but it's clear he's referring to him. Because he saw George Harrison, he wasn't in the Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa class. Generally a musician, you don't expect them to follow all the four regulated principles. But Prabhupada's potency worked through him. Many of my godbrothers, they say they became inspired by George Harrison. I wasn't inspired by him. In fact, when he came to the manor, Bhakti Vedanta manor in 1976, he was there once. Everybody said, "Oh, George Harrison came, we should go and see him." I deliberately avoided seeing him because I thought, so what? By chance to see George Harrison. Actually, I should have seen him because Prabhupada liked him, but I didn't want to see him because the devotees. The reason all the devotees were going to see him because they thought, such a great person from material viewpoint. They gave him such importance. So, yeah, a great devotee, their potency. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's potency is going on. He left this world 500 years ago, but his potency is going on. So, it may, and so many devotees, they in early life they had some contact with Krishna consciousness at some level, and later they come into association of seriously practicing devotees, and because of that background they take it up very seriously. There are many. One of your godbrothers in England, he was raised by his mother. I don't think he even knew who his father was. His mother was a hippie, but she used to come to the Rath Yatra in the 1970s. She was never a devotee fully, but she did some service, this and that. He remembered that in his childhood, and later in life he took up Krishna consciousness seriously. So his mother, because she wasn't a serious devotee, but she had some affinity for Krishna consciousness. So he became benefited by that. So yeah. We may say deviated devotee there, but still their situation is, unless they have some seriously envious opposite-hanta, their association is definitely, although their whole life is definitely better than someone who has no interest in Krishna consciousness. If they have a seriously wrong understanding, for instance, that I am Krishna and these young women, they're gopis, so let us dance. That's a serious misunderstanding. And one may be benefited by associating just by hearing the name of Krishna, but the detrimental effect, at least in the beginning of it'll be more than actually the good effect of Krishna consciousness can never be less than the bad effect, but at least immediately we'll be so misled that it'll be difficult for us to understand the right thing. Srila Prabhupada said about those who are offensive chanting, that they have to suffer the results of the offenses, and after that, the effect of chanting, the good effect, that can come through. But if the offensive mentality remains, then the proper purification isn't going to be there. So one may be purified, for instance, in a way that Shishupal was purified. He was attached to Krishna, but in the wrong way. So bhakti should be anukul. It's important to associate with devotees who are properly situated in service to Krishna. That's always recommended. Hare Krishna.